Hello and welcome to our bonus episode of our Saint Lunatics podcast. We have this wonderful opportunity here to do an extra episode since we spent way too much time talking about St. Louis City SC on our last episode. Here we're going to focus on our St. Louis Cardinals. There's one very big important thing to talk about, as well as our St. Louis Blues, which also have one very big thing to talk about. John, my co-host, what do you have to say?
Oh God, what do I have to say? Well, you guys may notice that we are
That's
wearing the
great.
same
So what I was
clothes
saying, no,
that we just wore. And the reason for that, because I'm going to ignore you trying to be funny because you're not good at that, is that we are recording the same night. We do own multiple pairs of clothes in general. But yes, we are recording the same night, so we are wearing the same clothes. I promise this is not like a gross thing.
I am going to go ahead and throw out, we are recording. It is Thursday, the 21st of September. So whatever we say, if they're like, oh, those stats aren't accurate, these guys don't know what they're talking about, probably old. We're going to post these a couple days apart so that you have some extra content leading it to start off your week next week. But there is some exciting things. A quick recap. We did go 1-2 against the Phillies. I know John and I were at one of those games, and I want to highlight something here. John and I have been to how many games together in our lifetime? Way too many to count.
You know, it's a lot. Let's just leave it at that. It's a lot of games.
John and I have a love for Cardinals baseball and a love for going to games together that is hard to beat. What might have finally beat that was watching our children sit there watching the game together and talking and pointing and looking over the railing, and to
Right.
see our kids who are 4 days apart in age
Mm-hmm.
sitting there enjoying the game together. I don't know that there's anything sweeter. So for those of you who aren't friends with us or know us personally, just so you know, being a father is probably my favorite job. And by probably, I mean it is, even more so than this podcast, but that's just because I have to deal with John when I'm doing this.
That's right.
So we
And
did go, and that game. So this is what I would love to point out about this game. They made a huge deal about pace of play and moving faster. We were 3+ hours into that game and
we left
just
early.
starting the seventh inning, and we had to leave early because we had little ones. I
Yeah.
mean, when you've got, I had a 3 and 5 year old, you had a 3-year-old. So much for pace of play. Apparently, they forgot all about keeping it sped up on the night that we were there. I guess we got our money's worth as far as games go.
I mean, we got to
The
see
next,
Harper thrown out for throwing a fit like a baby. So that was amazing.
that was absolutely amazing. First of all, the belts that the Phillies were in that night,
Oh,
whatever
those are fire.
bling they had was amazing. They had like a sparkle to them, then the lights hit them. Looked like they were wearing like legit like jewel
Bedazzled.
encrusted
Yeah.
belts. I thought it was cool as shit. Um, hey, by the way, we're a Note Bleep podcast, so if you didn't already know, make sure you are aware of the explicit content, which is marked on Spotify. You're welcome. The other
Check
big thing
mark. We did it. We got the disclaimer out of the way
so
early this time.
no, watching Harper go and bitch like a little girl and they get thrown out of the game was incredibly fulfilling for me to watch, especially live. And then, we left the game. I actually listened to the game on the radio the rest of the way home to listen to us lose. We left 15 runners on base that game. 15
Yeah. And you could tell like
over 9 innings.
and that's
We
how it's
lost by
felt
one,
all
by the
year.
way, who aren't for the people who aren't aware, we lost by one run that game.
Yeah.
And it's just we're missing that one hit. And I think this is the thing that I've thought about, is that our pitching has put us in such a hole that our offense is pushing so hard to
Hmm.
make up that difference, that is where we're seeing some of those offensive
Well,
declines. I don't necessarily think, again, I think Arenado and Goldie had great years. I mean, phenomenal years yesterday. You expect them to take a step back. But I think that our offense as a whole is really pushing and just trying to make up that difference that our pitching is really kind of fucking us for.
Well, I think it's about situational hitting, situational baseball, right? Um, if you think about it, like
Analytics don't believe in that. Ask
yeah,
Ollie.
well, I'm not gonna talk about that, even though he's gonna be our manager again next year, whatever. We're getting on base as we just evidenced. We left 15 of them on base last night or a week ago almost. I mean, we get into good positions and spots where we should be winning. We should be closing out games, and we can't do that last little bit that we need. And I think it's because we're not, like you said, we're not going for bunts because that's not part of the modern game. We're not trying to get a sacrifice fly. We're just trying to hit home runs. Like it, we haven't been working counts as well in the positions that we need to keep these innings alive. It's one thing if like a single guy or a couple guys are getting on base every inning, but if the guys behind them are not getting on base, it doesn't matter. If you're not working them through to home, it does not matter.
And John knows a thing or two about working things all the way through. Kelsey, you're a lucky lady. Now, what I would like to follow
Where's the
up with
lie?
though, so we it's the fact that she's lucky. We know that she
Mhm.
loves me more than you.
She'll,
So
she'll never hear this though. It's unfortunate.
I tell her every time we see each other, so it's fine. So we did lose the series, went 1-2 against the Phillies. So you know what? Cardinals have been playing pretty well. We talked about it in our last episode. We won multiple series. Let's go into Milwaukee. Let's get a series win. Let's ruin their season, right? We went one
No.
and three, and that absolutely blows, except for I don't care because we won the only game that mattered in this series.
Which
Absolutely
game
the
was
only
that?
game. If
Tell
those
the
of you who are
listeners.
not aware, John and I were going to record this episode a couple of days ago, and we both kind of were under the weather, so I apologize. But Adam Wainwright, who you might have heard in some of our earlier episodes, is my favorite Cardinal.
Well, he's
Um,
kind of a big deal. They might have heard of him in general.
well,
That just hit,
I
didn't it?
meant,
It
I
took you a
meant,
moment.
I meant the part about him being my favorite Cardinal. My first jersey that I paid for with my own money.
Mhm. Hey,
Uh, Adam Wait, Adam
unscripted ten
Wainwright.
second yes or no.
Oh shit. Okay.
Favorite current Cardinal that is not Adam Wainwright,
Oh,
not Arenado, not Goldie.
you son of a bitch. Newt Bar.
Hmm, I like it. Good choice. Okay, please continue. You were saying.
If I had to pick a second, it's Tommy Baseball. But so Adam Wainwright, as we talked about previously, finally got win number 199. And wouldn't you know it, the very next start he has against a division rival at home, goes 7 innings, shutout baseball, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, vintage Adam Wainwright. And now we
Vintage.
have win number 200 and a 1-0 win. I also want to throw out Ray. Was it Ray King? I'm probably John King. Last name was King. Ray King was back in I think 2011 was a reliever. So I just aged myself a little bit as far as
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals fans go. But the guy came on and lefty reliever looked pretty solid
Yeah,
as a whole.
yeah.
Started to get into a little bit of trouble, and this is what I'd like to highlight: is Helsley came on, struck out the batter for the third out in the eighth,
Mm-hmm.
comes on in the ninth, and just shut them down the way that you hope a closer would. It was a beautiful ball game to watch. But my favorite moment, absolute favorite moment of the game was in the seventh inning. So, John, I don't know if you were watching the game or not. So I was watching it on my TV. I know you were listening and tracking through it because you
Well,
were in between work and stuff. But
right. Yeah, I wasn't.
Ollie came out to a mound visit in the seventh inning,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and Waino's up there on the mound. Liberatore had been warming up, and if you didn't know, Liberatore mind you, struggle a little bit in the starting rotation, but they've been using in high leverage reliever situations
He's looked
to kind
good.
of get a
He's looked
good feel.
good in that
Maybe,
role.
and he has looked amazing in that role. And Liberatore had been out there warming up. Ollie starts walking to the mound. Matthew Liberatore starts walking to like he's coming on the field. And Ollie stops and waves him back and is like,
Right.
hold on a minute. I got to talk to
Right.
Waino.
Right.
So he goes up, he talks to Waino. He asks Waino, do you want this guy? And Waino goes,
Mm.
yeah, I got him. And at this time, it's, who, God, who was he facing? I knew
Don't
this
know.
right before
Didn't
the,
watch
the,
it.
the episode started.
I was on Gamecast, but I was working out and I missed when they pulled him out.
Rowdy Telez. Sorry, it took me a minute.
Oh
He was
yeah.
facing Rowdy again. And Wayne was like, no, I've got it. First of all, I'm going to take a quick pause here on talking about the game. Rowdy Telez might be one of the best names in baseball right now.
For an active player, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
said
mean,
it right
we
now,
have
like active.
we
Yeah.
right. Well, because I mean, like we have Stubby Clapp and Pop Warner as coaches, right? So
Yeah, but
like,
but but as far as players go, there's not a lot of Stubby Claps or Pop Warners
well,
as
that's why I
players.
specified players, but they're like names in baseball.
Oh yeah. We need a good nickname for Shohei Otani.
When he comes
Something,
to play for us next year,
yeah,
yeah,
once he comes to the Cardinals. But
yeah.
what I'd like to highlight, so moving
Showtime
back to the
Shohei,
game,
done, done, got it,
nailed it. So
nailed it.
what I'm intrigued about here is he comes out, Ollie talks to him, Waino says, no, I've got it. I'm gonna get Rowdy Tellez out. I have this under control. He rolls with it. He ends up getting the out. He ends up going the rest of the inning, gets through the seventh, and then that thing's come on. But just the whole interaction of Ollie knowing, like, before I take this game from Waino, I got to talk to Waino.
Right.
There's a level of respect there, and I have harped on Ollie Marmol all season. Last year, I was praising him, and we talked about this I think it was last episode, or the episode might have been the Cardinals bonus episode.
Uh,
Bear with me here, but the biggest loss that the Cardinals took that wasn't a retirement was losing Skip Schumacher as bench coach.
oh yeah, for sure. That's not even like for debate.
We don't, but the problem is we don't talk about it. Everyone talks
Well, I
about, oh
mean,
well,
we
Albert
do.
retired and Yachty retired. You and I talk about it, but I'm saying people don't talk about it.
Right, right,
Losing Skip Schumacher is a huge loss, and Ollie manages so much by the analytics and
right,
this is what the numbers say I need to do. He doesn't take into account the baseball sense of the I've been in this situation. I
right.
know what this feels like. And Skip helped balance him out so much.
Yeah.
But
So speaking
this
of
is nothing to
that
take
mound
away
visit.
from the fact that, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so did you read Katie Woo's article on that mound visit in the Athletic?
I did not.
Oh,
I
you've
saw
got
that
to
she
go
put
back
one
and read
out.
it. You've got, I mean, yeah, she put out like three over Win 200. And you guys know we are huge fans of Katie Woo's writing. Like it's
Katie Woo,
single-handedly,
come on here and talk to us, please.
yes, please come talk baseball to us. Not talking baseball because that's probably trademarked by John Boy, but just come talk baseball, talk Cardinals with us. But we are huge fans of her writing, and it seriously, it single-handedly makes a subscription to the Athletic worth it. Um, but one of the things she pointed out, and I was like, oh yeah, I did. You know, now that you say that, like thinking back, I remember that is so when Ali used to, you know, when he'd come out to like tell Wayno, like, hey, I'm pulling you, like, come on, it's time, right? Like early on in Ollie's career, Wayno would like pretty much talk him out of it, and then Ollie would go back to the dugout. Well, then like kind of like the last like I don't know most of this year, maybe the end of last year, Ollie would walk out, and as soon as he came out, he would just point to the dugout or to the bullpen to get the next pitcher on, and then he'd just walk up to the mound and say, "No, I already waved. Change is official. You gotta come out. Sorry." But that time he did not do that. And so, I thought that was that showed great awareness. And we talked about it a lot with Lin 199, that Ollie showed great awareness with the people that he was calling out of the pen, right? The specific pitchers that he was using, like he wasn't going to give that away. And for as much crap as we've dumped on Ollie for that, not only
I'll
this year
continue
but
to dump
last
crap
year,
on Ollie. Fair warning.
right, right, yeah. But I don't know. I was very thankful for that. I mean, Adam Wainwright, Uncle Charlie, he's a goddamn legend. There's nothing else to say about it. Like he's a freaking legend. He has given so much to our organization, and he deserves every bit of praise that we can give him. Period. End of
So
discussion.
something I want to that makes me incredibly happy. It looked like after win number 199, he got his mojo back.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody who's watched Austin Powers in the
I got my
second
mojo
edition,
back, baby. I
he
can't
got
do
his
the accent.
mojo back. I got my mojo back, baby. Yeah.
You,
Yeah, I'm too
you can't
drunk
do
to
the
do it.
accent either. Yeah. Keep
Also, this is
going.
our second episode we're recording in the same night. So I've been drinking quite a bit. I just spiked my Coke with like way too many shots of rum. So here's the
Someone's
thing.
working remotely tomorrow.
I'll be at work. I just don't know what time. So
Or where? Might be at home.
so first of all, Wayno's a legend. There's not many players, and I gotta pull up the stat. There was a stat in something like there's not many people. There's like 2,200 players who have hit like 10
Mhm.
or 50,
Yeah.
20 home runs.
10 home runs.
Is
I
it 10
saw it
home
too. 10
runs?
home runs. Yeah.
It's like 2,100, 2,200 players that have hit 10 home runs. There's, like 100 and however many players that have hit or have won 200 games.
Right. As a starting pitcher. Yeah.
There is one player who has done both. I want to take a quick moment here with Waino. Waino, again, you know that I love Waino. You know that I've always loved Waino. I want to recap a couple of things for you here. This guy came up, and this is also something cool I'm about to highlight in a minute, but Waino came up, was pitching out of the bullpen, not necessarily a closer. We have the all-star closer, Trevor Isringhausen. Also, huge shout out to Izzy. I have a signed baseball by Izzy because he came up after a game while I was standing around with my dad. It was the one game I went to in like a 7 or 8 year span. Izzy
That's
showed up and signed Trevor Isringhausen. Trevor Isringhausen showed up and signed my baseball. I got autographs by him, Matheny, Isringhausen, Matheny, Steve Klein. Yeah.
are you sure about that name?
Trevor
Are you
Isringhausen? What did I mess up here? Jason Isringhausen.
Jason Isringhausen? Yes.
So here's a shout out. Trevor Isringhausen was a wrestling partner, all-state wrestler with me growing up. And I used to tease him because he had the same last name as Jason Isringhausen.
Oh. Jason Isringhausen went to Daniel Powell. Shout out Daniel Powell. High school. There was like
We do a lot of
in this
shout
high
outs.
school. Yeah, we do a lot of shout outs.
Shout outs to John Love here. I don't give a shit. So anyway,
keep going.
Jason Isringhausen gets hurt. We lose our all-star closer for the year. In comes Adam Wainwright in 2006. Ends up being the stud closer that we needed, and is able to push us and help us win the World Series. I don't think it can be underestimated. And again, my favorite game of the game that I think of when I think of Cardinals baseball is Game 7 of the NLCS, not the World Series, NLCS in 06.
Yeah.
It's Cardinals
game
Mets.
I think of?
What do you think?
No, here, you tell me yours, and then I'll tell you mine.
So it's Game 7. You've got Yachty hitting bombs, getting us runs. And then you have Carlos Beltran, the Cardinal killer for multiple years, both with the Mets and the Astros. future Cardinal, God bless his soul. I love Beltran. Honest to God, I love Beltran. I think he's a great player, but he comes up to bat and Adam Wainwright absolutely freezes him with that 12-6 curve. We win the World Series. And that is what I think of when I think of Cardinals baseball. I think of Yachty running out to Wainwright.
Oh, well, okay,
Maybe
that's different.
Wainwright,
That's
by the
not the
way.
question that I thought you asked. Yeah.
And so that is what I think of. And so you think about Wainwright truly in his first full year in the majors, he's in the bullpen, but is able to close out not just an NLCS, but then a World Series, comes back as a starter. We have 4 top 3 finishes in the Cy Young. And I believe it's 08, 09, 12, and 13 or 13, 14. Pretty much around his multiple shoulder and elbow
Right.
surgeries
Right.
that he had.
Like it was on either side of his shoulder issues. Like he was good. He had the shoulder issues and Tommy John. He came back. He got
Tommy Johnson elbow.
right. That's what I mean. I know it's an elbow. I'm saying he had that in the middle of all of
I'm
that.
just giving you
Obviously.
shit because I
Okay.
said shoulder/elbow and then you jumped into shoulder. Look,
I
here's
was
the thing.
quoting you.
I love giving you shit. So
I'm
continue with your
just
story.
saying, I'm quoting you and you're saying it like it's me. What the frick is going on here? You don't even know somebody's name. Besides the
I've
point.
been drinking a lot.
That's true. Thank God you're not driving anywhere.
I don't know that I'll
What's
make it
great
up the
about his
stairs to my bedroom, to
no,
be
you're
honest,
sleeping
right
on
now.
that couch. That's right behind you. You're sleeping on the couch. Adam Wainwright, like his career has been it's had so many dips and valleys in it, right? And he's always rebuilt and come back, right? He's one of like 6 players in the history of the game to have 200 wins and only play for one team at the major league level, like, and have a 20% or greater than a 600% winning percentage. Like that's impressive. Like there's a reason. And if you look at that list, and that list is guys who are Hall of Famers. Like it's a good list. And you look at the guys that are active right now with 200 wins, it's all guys that we say are future Hall of Famers. And the next 2 after him, it's like Scherzer, um, Verlander, Kershaw, and I don't remember who the other 2 are, but they're Hall of Fame guys too. And the next 2 guys behind Waino, so one of them is Johnny Cueto, who's 37, has
I
144.
hope that guy never makes it to the Hall of Fame. He's a
He
dirty
probably
player.
won't. Yeah, he probably
Also,
won't.
he should never be allowed to wear cleats again after he cleated our players. Continue.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Not what we're talking about today, but accurate. One game behind him is another player who I think is a dirty player in a different way, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is probably going to hit 200 if he stays healthy. He's 143. He's in his early-ish 30s. I don't know his exact age, but he's probably going to hit 200. But again, a Hall of Fame guy, right? I mean, if he doesn't ever get
I
confirmed to be cheating, which we all know he was, we can see it in his spin rates.
Garrett Cole is one of those.
Not a fan. Not a fan of
Yeah,
Garrett Cole.
I'm not a fan. I have one good thing to say about Garrett Cole. You want to hear
He
what it
plays for
is?
someone else. He cost someone else a lot of money.
Way back when, our buddy Carrie, who we shouted out in a previous episode, started a fantasy baseball league that I managed to win. Do you know who the person who led me to the victory of that season was? Garrett Cole. That is the only good thing I have to say about Garrett Cole. Continue.
I will say this. It is really cool. I always think it is really cool when someone gets to play for their like team growing up, and he's gotten to do that with the Yankees. I do think that that's a pretty cool thing. Bader got to do that before they cut him because they have no faith, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, Waino. This is about Waino.
Let's go back to Waino. So he's had some amazing seasons, and I want to highlight the biggest potential Cy Young Rob of our generation
Right.
currently. And that was Ten Lincecum winning over Waino. Waino should have won that Cy Young, and the only reason he didn't is that there is a group of people out there that have votes that decided that, you know what, we can only vote for one player from each team. So they split their votes between Waino and Carp. Waino actually had the most first place
Oh,
votes.
yeah.
The only reason he lost that Cy Young is because people decided, well, I can't put you in my top 5 because I voted for Carpenter.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's to take nothing away from Chris Carpenter, who, by the way, is
It's
a
just
legend,
bullshit. It's a bullshit
but
way to vote.
it is. And it's one of those like stupid things where if you actually had the players or former players voting instead of media,
Right.
you would never have that situation. What
Right.
I would also like to think about with Chris Carpenter, by the way, while I'm talking about him, and I know
Mhm.
this has nothing to do with anything on our episode, so sorry guys. There's two pieces to this story. So we beat the Phillies in 2011 in 5 games. That was the NLDS, by the way. So we beat him in 5 games, and game 5 was possibly one of the best pitchers duels I've ever seen in a
Oh
playoff game.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Roy Halladay taking on Chris Carpenter. We end up getting a run off a Rafael Furcal triple,
Hmm.
followed by a sac fly.
Yeah.
And
They
Chris
were
Carpenter made that stand, pitched a complete game. And
right.
Roy Halladay pitched the whole way too, only giving up that one run that I just
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah. They don't
The
they don't
last
make them
out
like
of
that
that
anymore.
game, there's the second piece I want to point out. There is a contingent, a very large contingent, I might add, of Cardinals fans who said we should have traded Albert Pujols for Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard, by the way, is a local kid, grew up in the St. Louis area, ended up
Love
playing in
that for him.
Philadelphia,
Eat fresh.
won an MVP. Had the problem is in that 2011 NLDS game 5, he tore his Achilles, ruptured his Achilles coming out of the batter's box, was never the same player. I
Yeah.
think if we trade Pujols for Ryan Howard, extend him, etc., he never touched Achilles. I think we're the better team for it, if I'm being 100% honest.
Well, I mean,
But
we don't need to rehash that
I
what
just want to
if.
highlight some things of the past Cardinals history. And so this isn't to argue, hey, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I just want to highlight like this was the thought, this is what ended up happening. Without, if that had happened, we never have that magical year we had last year. And if anybody who is listening remembers what happened the second half of last year with Pujols and breaking some home run records and doing certain things, absolutely magical. I'm not saying that was the best thing for him, but honestly, I don't think Pujols is still in the league if he stays with the National League team prior
Oh,
to that.
no, I think, and we don't have time to go into this, but the Angels are a trash organization. They've ruined, they ruined Albert. They wasted Trout. They've ruined Shohei as much as you can ruin a guy like Shohei, I guess. Like they killed Albert Pujols' love of the game, and he was planning on retiring after 21, but they traded him mid-season, or I guess they waived him, and then he got picked up, whatever, by the Dodgers, and then he went to LA, and he LA Dodgers cross town, and he's like, oh hey, baseball's fun. I enjoy this. This is why I committed my life to this. And he started putting it together again. And then he came here, and like the first half of the year is kind of like, whatever. But he got the end on a high note. And that's what we've gotten to see with Adam, right? These last 2 games is he's going out on a high note. And they've already announced that he's not going to pitch in San Diego. Like they're skipping his start. So I don't know if he's going to be pitching for us when he comes back. There is a thought, and I'm sure you've had it too, because apparently he is lobbying to get to hit again. And I'm just saying, we could do 3 games in a row where he is DHing, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm watching every
This
second.
you just led into my perfect segue to what I was trying to flag you. So those of you who are watching saw me,
I did.
but
I just
those of
flew
you who
past
weren't,
it.
here it is. On Sunday, his last game, the Cardinals' last game, his last game with the Cardinals. Would you rather
Okay.
Adam Wainwright come in and pitch and close out the game?
No, I'd rather him hit.
Or would you rather have him come in and pinch hit in like the sixth or seventh inning?
Oh, no, no. I'd rather him DH. I'd rather him hit the entire freaking game. I don't even know why this is like a conversation right now. Look, and I have tickets to the game that he was lined up to start on Friday night, and I would really love it if he started and pitched. And I get it if he doesn't, because I mean, you
If you
your
have
last
an
game is your
extra
last
shirt
game.
after that game, I'll buy it off you.
I probably won't get there in time to get one at all, but I know a guy. I mean, my job is
No,
my
that's
job.
fine.
I have to make money to pay for us to talk about
Hey,
people.
that's a great plug right now. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow for all of our future content so that we can actually do shit that we want to do, like go to Cardinals games.
Right. But anyway, I might not get to see that. You only get one last game, and to end on a game like he got to end on, like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him getting to end on that as a pitcher. And anyone who says like, "Oh, I wanted to see him one more time," no, no, that game was the best we could have hoped for him, and we don't need to see him anymore. Second, back to my answer to you though, Adam Wainwright's had a successful career. You know what he has said is one of his, I guess, trophies or accomplishments that he's most proud of,
Being mentioned on this podcast.
other than being mentioned on this podcast. We don't hand out trophies for that because we do too many shout outs.
You have to tell me.
Silver Slugger. So yeah, I want to see him go out there and I want to see him go 3 for 3 with a home run each time. That's what I want.
You know, there was a season he not only won the Silver Slugger, but also the Gold Glove. I want to throw out this here a little bit. There's a lot going on, and I love to see him go out on top. You said you're okay with him not starting another baseball game.
I'm okay with him not pitching again.
What do you feel about him coming in relief to earn another save?
What number is he at on saves?
I have absolutely no idea.
Then I don't care. No, I'm okay if he never pitches again.
I agree.
I'm completely okay with that. This is about good
I agree.
vibes.
I think my thing is if the last appearance of Adam Wainwright was vintage and Adam Wainwright, I will take it. And I say vintage. So you have to understand, and this is the evolution of Adam Wainwright as a pitcher. And this is something probably the thing that I appreciate more than most. Adam Wainwright not just evolved as a pitcher, but he was able to move on. So he came into the league as a strikeout pitcher, very much so, but was able to evolve into a contact, the smarter veteran pitcher as his career went on. And I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. I was listening to the Fast Lane on 101, or not, sorry, the Morning Drive on 101 ESPN this morning. And they were talking about pitchers. And one of the questions was which pitcher had beat Strider, who is a phenomenal pitcher right now for the Atlanta Braves. Although I would like to point out that the Cardinals lit him up. Which pitcher was the only Atlanta pitcher to have more strikeouts in a season than him? They had 3 pitchers in the 90s: Glavine, Maddox, and John Smoltz. We all know what Maddox did. What did Maddox do?
Is that
pitched to contact question? Yeah. Is it a rhetorical question? But he pitched to contact, right? So we know it wasn't Maddox. Also, the guy who was on the fight, I also want to point out that I texted into this and they did not pick me. I would have won had I played, but neither here nor there. John Smoltz, or excuse me, Maddox was a contact pitcher. Glavine did a mix of both. And I think I appreciated Glavine more than the other too, and the
Hmm.
moment of the 90s. I loved watching Tom Glavine pitch because the guy could pitch to contact or he could strike somebody out, and he would make his choice based on the hitter's tendencies.
Right. Do you
John
remember that?
Smoltz was an absolute dynamite strikeout pitcher. I knew what the answer was. It's going to be Smoltz, and it
Sure.
was. But the
Do you remember
fact that
that?
Waino reminds me of Glavine. So Glavine in his prime was I can strike you out or I can pitch to contact. That was Waino in his prime.
Right.
Waino's prime was I can strike you out or I can pitch to contact.
Right.
Waino, as he got older, became Greg Maddux. He
Right.
became the I'm going to pitch to
Well,
contact and I'm going to get you out that way.
well, it's not even always about pitching to contact, although he definitely wasn't like a heavy strikeout pitcher, but which I guess makes him a pitch to contact. But it was pitching smarter. It was, getting the strikeouts when he needed them, so that way we could move through it. It was making guys guess. It was changing speed and location and arm slots. Um, but what I was going to say though, since you brought up the '90s Braves pitchers, you remember that fantastic commercial that they had with Mark McGuire? Was that commercial was perfect. It was just great, and I love it. I had to talk about it. Um, you want to know something else that kind of stood out to me? How fitting is it that Yachty, who pitched so many times with Waino, that Yachty catches John Lester's 200th win, who played for the Cubs and the Red Sox, right? And yet it was Wilson Contreras who played so many games for the Cubs who caught Adams' 200th win. I just thought that was fantastic.
No, I agree. I think that's great stuff.
And the other thing, and we talked about it last week, is like how much does it matter other than pride, right, to get to the 200th win? Because there's that thought out there by the sports writers who we've already, bitched and moaned about tonight and how they screwed him out of a Cy Young, but that a lot of them think that he needs 200 wins to get in the Hall of Fame. And it's not even a lot because he's pitching simultaneously with so many pitchers who are better. And there's nothing about that. It's not that he's not good. It's just there's a lot of really good pitchers over the last 10 years. Like a lot of really good pitchers.
Can I
Um,
highlight something real quick? And I
yeah.
apologize. I know this is going to take extra time, but if you listen to the interviews with John Mozeliak,
Uh-huh.
the one regret he has is not signing Max Scherzer, who, by the way, is a hometown kid.
Right. Right.
And he will not admit to missing on much, but that is the one miss he will admit to.
And everyone agrees with him. Um, but yeah, so for him to get in, I think he's going to have to be the year ahead of Scherzer, and at least, and Verlander and Kershaw. And I don't know what those guys have planned for after this year. But if they retire this year, if any of them retire, it's going to screw Wayno. He's got to go in before them. Otherwise, he's not going to make it because he's just going to be compared to them. Um,
Does Wayno's country music
it gets him in,
career
gets him in,
count extra? Yeah, you think it does?
gets him in. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Uh, the other thing, too, as far as stats go, is we talked last week about how it impacted his ERA. But the other thing that I think the writers will heavily emphasize with all players is their WAR, their wins above replacement. So, for those of you who are listening who are maybe not as big of the stat nerds of baseball like we are, wins above replacement is literally what it says. How many wins did you earn for your team above what a replacement level player would earn? And what's unfortunate about this year for Wayno is that it actually cost him, and he already did not have a lot, but he actually lost some of that. I think about 2.0 WAR this year, and that puts him at like 44, and it doesn't stack well to a lot of the other great pitchers. So I don't know. I'm already anxious about it, but I'm gonna just forget about it. I'm gonna move on. I'm just gonna be thankful for the time that we had with him. Um, we got to watch the last like 15 years of him and Yachty being, the leaders and the captains of this team. And we've just been so lucky to have gotten that, you know?
I agree. I think it's interesting to think about Yachty as the captain of the team and really kind of the leader of the team. Contreras being able to catch that win number 200 is amazing, but thinking about Yachty truly captaining the team and leading things the way they go, uh, kind of makes me think about the Blues and how they've decided to or not deciding to declare a captain. And they finally made up their mind. And we talked about this in our previous podcast, but Braden Shen was really talked about, in our podcast and other places as the clear cut for the team captain. And surprisingly, or not so much, Braden Shen was named the captain of the St. Louis Blues for this upcoming season. Something that I would like to highlight here, though, is they talked a lot about Robert Thomas being the, hey, I see, when they signed him to that 8 million a year contract, he could be the captain of the future. He was named an assistant captain this year, along with Pareko, and I'm blanking on the third.
I did not actually open it up to see who the assistants were. So I just read the headline of Shen and was like, oh, well, they obviously listen to our podcast.
So there is a third, and I'll pull it up before we're done here in just a quick minute. But the Blues opened up camp. We're rolling now, and I'm excited about what the Blues have to offer this season. One of the things that I really want to think about is, so Braden Shen has been a leader in the locker room. He's been a leader on the ice for years. There was 2 players who got giant contracts last year and 2 players who did not. How much do you feel like that played into the reported divide in the locker room? And the 2 players we're talking about that did are Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, got identical contracts. There's players who did not. We're talking about the previous captain, Ryan O'Reilly, and we're talking about the former first-round draft pick, Vladimir Tarasenko. Do you feel like that fed into the reported divide in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, so first off, Justin Falk was the other assistant. So good job. You got 2 out of 3. That's, I mean, it was better than I could have done. I could have only named Pareko. So you got me there. I mean, that's an issue with every team in every sport in the world, right? Everyone, supposedly, not that this is a soccer episode, but like supposedly that's the kind of thing that was like disrupting Toronto FC this year in MLS, right? Is disgruntledness over pay and stuff like that, are one of many contributing factors. I mean, that's always an issue, especially with guys who perceive themselves to be better, to have shown that they deserve it more. And I mean, Ryan O'Reilly and Tarasenko are guys who have definitely can make the case that they've earned every penny and deserve a lot of money, for their ability and their performance. So, I mean, I wouldn't discount it. I wouldn't throw it out. I would say like it tracks, right?
I agree. I think, again, early in the season, you hear that these 2 guys got these 2 giant contracts. These players know how much money is available. They know what's available to them or what they might get. When they hear those contracts, they know that they're done. This is their last season.
Right.
And I think that in itself really hurt the Blues in the locker room and things that they had going for them. I think Craig Berube is 100% the right coach for the Blues right now. There are people out there who think, oh, we need to change it, coach. There's a reason we won the Stanley Cup under Berube. I think Berube continues to lead us. I think he's going to be a great coach for us. I think he's going to continue to support us.
Yeah,
I think
fine with that.
the thing that we
Berube.
need as a Blues squad is the evolution of players like that we're paying big money, like Kyrou and Robert Thomas. So I was listening to the Fast Lane, and I was listening to Jamie Rivers more to single him out. Jamie Rivers, by the way, has been named the new analyst for Bally Sports West. So he still helping with the 101 ESPN, the Fast Lane, but he's also moving into a analyst role with the Blues. And he highlighted that he worked under a player or worked with a player with the Red Wings who really truly needed, was scoring 130, 150 point seasons, wasn't even getting close to the Stanley Cup. All of a sudden decided, you know what, I need to stop selling out for goals and points and be a two-way player. And all of a sudden the Red Wings started winning. And I think that is the biggest takeaway for me, is somebody, and not just anybody, but somebody who has the respect of Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou needs to sit these two players down and remind them that, look, you've got your contract, you've got the money, you're ready to go. How do you two manage to play a two-way game that translates into not just playoff success, but potentially Stanley Cup success in the future? I think they have it in them, especially Robert Thomas. If I'm being honest, I have less confidence in Jordan Kyrou. But you have players like Pavel Buchnevich, who I think are greatly underrated for what they do. And I think that they're going to be, especially Pavel Buchnevich, he's going to be a huge player for this season. I think it'll be interesting with the Torrey Krug foot injury that we highlighted a couple episodes ago. We're going to have the opportunity to see a couple of the younger players and really truly understand what we have on that back six and kind of moving forward. Do you have any other thoughts on the Blues before we wrap this up?
No, not particularly. I agree with everything you just said. I mean, I'm definitely excited to get to watch how they do. I think, we've said it several times. We need a lot of the younger guys to step up. Like obviously last year we were sellers. We got rid of a lot of experience, a lot of veterans, and this is an opportunity for the younger guys to show, like, yes, this is why we moved on from those players. It's because we're ready and it's our team and we're going to do this. This is St. Louis Blues hockey. We have high expectations, and it's time to live up to that. I don't know if I'm going to get to watch it, but we do get to start watching it this weekend if we want to or if we're able to. Preseason actually starts on Saturday at 2 p.m. against Arizona. So all of this time, all of this talk that we've been doing about how we are going to have to see how they do, that's starting like basically now. In fact, when you're listening to this, that game will have already been played. So you will already know how they looked possibly.
Yeah, and I think that's a great highlight and a great call out. And we are starting the preseason. If you are a huge Blues hockey fan, now is the time for you. You need to be logging in, you need to be watching, you need to be seeing what's going on. And more importantly, you need to be liking, subscribing, and commenting on our videos so that we can continue those conversations and highlight what you want to see, highlight what you want to hear about. I have no problem watching extra Blues games, doing extra deep dives and things. If you guys have players or comments or things that you guys want us to do, I'm sure John also has no reservations on doing deeper dives. I'm not going to speak for him because, sometimes he can be a little bit, you know what, I won't say it, and it's fine. And so we'll carry on and we'll continue to put out good stuff. But if you guys love and like our content that we're putting out, we'd appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, where we're available there. We look forward to seeing you, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for additional posts and content media. If you guys see anything coming up or you guys have extra things you want to hear about, don't hesitate to message us and reach out. We look forward to seeing you, and stay tuned because we have a episode soon coming your way. Thank you. Have a good night.